well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So glad you're with me here on another edition of Bearing Arms, Cam and Company. My name, of course, is Cam Edwards. Glad that you're with us today. Going to be talking with Jim Wallace of the Gun Owners Action League here in just a moment or two. Although 4420 is on hold for now, there's a lot going on behind the scenes of the state capitol in Boston. Plus, there's a lot going on in terms of Second Amendment supporters trying to derail the latest attack on their right to keep and bear arms. We'll get to that in just one moment. Before we do, however, Biden's America, it's crushing us. You've got companies laying off tens of thousands of workers, one after the other. Americans working two jobs just to get by. Inflation pushing hardworking families to the brink. Just look at the price of lunch meat next time you go to the grocery store. And a digital dollar could be coming down the pipeline to completely destroy our way of life. The truth is, you need a plan. You know it, and I know it. And that is why you should call Goldco, so you can diversify your savings and investments with gold and silver before things get worse. They're a six-time Inc. 5000 winner, 2022 Company of the Year with thousands of five-star reviews, and they've helped people like you and me place over $1 billion in gold and silver. They're offering up to $10,000 in free silver while supplies last, and if you call them today, qualified callers will get a free Ronald Reagan half-ounce silver coin. So don't wait. Call Goldco at 855-412-3806 today. That's 855-412-3806. So again, a lot of stuff going on in Massachusetts during this summer break. You've got action in both the House and the Senate in terms of drafting or maybe revising existing gun control legislation like 4420. So let's get the latest from Jim Wallace of the Gun Owners Action League. Take a look and a listen. Jim, thanks so much for coming on the program. So much for you getting to enjoy a quiet summer, huh?
Well, you know, the last time I tried to lay on the beach up here in New England, a bunch of volunteers kept trying to roll me back in the water. So I don't do that anymore anyway.
Free Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm not an endangered species, I swear. You know? So, yeah, talk about a way to screw up a perfectly lousy summer anyway. But, yeah, it's, I can't tell you. I always hate to use the term proud of our members because it kind of puts me in a weird position. I mean, who am I to be proud of somebody? But, you know, just the awesome response that we have had statewide. You're always going to get the naysayers, people who think, you know, they know better than anybody else. But for the most part, the energy behind this fight is nothing like I've ever seen in Massachusetts. So it's pretty incredible.
Well, and I think the fact that, you know, you all were able to get 4420 slowed down at the very least, right? We're not out of the woods yet, but I mean, they were trying to get this passed by the end of July, and you were able to stop that from happening. You know, I would like to, that should energize gun owners in Massachusetts. And I realize it's easy to feel beat down and feel like you don't have a shot. But, you know, again, when you guys come together, you really can do things, and you have accomplished, I think, something already very important. So let's talk about what's going on this summer, both with Gold members and Second Amendment advocates, as well as what's going on to the State House, because we know that the anti-gunners aren't going to just give up and admit defeat here, right? What are they doing during this summer recess?
Well, it's interesting from what we're hearing in the State House. Of course, they're on summer recess, like you just said. So I guess the Speaker's office is trying to regather themselves. And I know for a fact that they're meeting with individual legislators to see what might be saved of this thing. The interesting piece of it is the dynamics that they made so many promises to the Giffords people and the so-called moms that if they change the bill in any way, now they're going to come after them. So the Speaker has really put himself in a no-win situation. So we'll see. You know, our message to the Speaker is if you're redrafting this, don't use Chairman Day to do it. Because anything, I don't care if he's giving free ice cream away, it's going to be toxic. So, you know, his reputation is gone. So find somebody else to at least work on it for you if you want. You know, of course, if they actually wanted a crime bill, I'd write one for them. You know, give me a call. I've done it before.
Right.
I mean, there's tons of sections of criminal law in the books that I personally wrote. So tell me what you're trying to do, and I'll write something for you that won't affect our people and hammer the bad guys. And we've already done that to some extent. On the Senate side, you know, we said earlier that they've announced they're going to do something on their own come fall, but they're going to take their time. They are assembling a team of sorts to try to tackle this. and it's going to be led by Senator Cynthia Cream, who's traditionally F-rated with us, but she's the number 2 in command, I believe, in the Senate now. So, but they are assembling a team to try to tackle this. And I already know there's at least one really pro 2A Democrat senator who's going to be part of that team. So he'll look out for us to some extent. And, you know, if anybody's looking for language, they can certainly reach out to me, and some have already. It's not a matter of amending 4420, because you can't fix that. You have to start from scratch. So if they're really looking for something to go after criminals, let's do it. The problem, Cam, is the courts aren't using the tools they already have. Matter of fact, just this morning, I had a legislator reach out to me and ask me for a list of laws that we think aren't even being used. And I said, well, how much time you got? You know? So it's one of those deals that it doesn't really matter, because even the police will tell you, you know, on the side, we go through all this work, build a case, go to court, and they drop the charges or give them probation, and they're right back out again. So, you know, this whatever, crime's growing, and some of it's because of the policies that they've passed here in Mass. But that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother day. Right.
Yeah. And now what about what Goal is doing during the summer months? Well, the anti-gunners are huddled behind closed doors trying to recalibrate their positions. You all are not sitting on your laurels or on the couch. I before we started, you showed me a yard sign behind you. What, 7,000 yard signs so far have been handed out?
What if I can do this here? Hold on. Yep, there it is. Yeah. And I got to tell you, thank God to a Goal member, Tim. He owns a print company called Printmaster. Before we even got going, he was printing out these signs and distributing at below cost. So, you know, between him and some of the other print shops that we've engaged with, yeah, there's 7,000 out there, and there's thousands more coming. Because what we're doing, thanks to some of the clubs and a bunch of firearm retailers around the state, we're using them as pickup points, because we just couldn't handle the logistics of delivering signs to every house.
Yeah.
Once one. So these people are really doing a great job as being pickup points. And we're constantly getting calls that, okay, guys, we're empty. We need more, you know, whatever. And that's why we actually had to hire a person just to handle the logistics of all this, which is awesome. And you actually know her, Carrie Ann, who's actually the local DC project head.
Oh, yeah.
With America. Yeah, we just called her up and say, hey, listen, do you need a job? And she's like, well, actually, yeah. So here we go, you know, and she's rocking and rolling. And thank God she's taken up that for us, because the rest of us are trying to keep the sanity moving, but it's not easy right now.
No kidding.
A lot of members have taken the initiative, setting up tables at events. There was something called Hunt Stock this past weekend, and they gave us a free table. You know, we have, matter of fact, this weekend, we're trying to get people to set up a local, what we're calling Overpass Day, which is find an local highway overpass near you, let us know, and we'll publicize you're going to be there, banners, signs, whatever. You know, that way people don't have to travel to a central location. They can do it right locally. And some of those are being set up as we speak. So the initiative taken by a lot of these members is just so crucial to what we're doing. You know, a staff of 4, now 5, there's no way we could do this logistically without them.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I mean, I think this is going to have an impact, and I think it already is having an impact. Now, you talked about, you know, dispersing across the state to these overpasses, but you are going to have at least one semi-centralized gathering coming up here later this month, right?
Yeah, we're going to August 27th, which is a Sunday, at the Quincy Marriott Hotel. We're just going to have an indoor kind of freedom celebration / rally, if you want to call it that. And a lot of people, you know, have said, why Quincy? I don't want to go to Quincy. Well, Quincy is the speaker's hometown. So what better place to hold a 2A celebration event than the speaker's hometown? Matter of fact, one of our speakers, I don't know if you know him, Patrick from gunfood.com. said he used to be the speaker's paper boy when he was a kid, so he can't wait to get up and talk about him. But it should be fun. It's not meant to be, we're not going to have a bunch of politicians there. We're going to have some great folks. I think you're going to pre-record something for us, and we'll have. It's not a sit-down dinner, but we'll have. I think Angie ordered a slider bar, which is cool.
Hey.
Cash bar. We got some phenomenal door prizes that people have donated to us. Matter of fact, 3 guns that were pulled right off the newly proposed ban list that we're going to give away for free, just for walking in the door. So yeah, if anybody wants to attend that, they can just go to the Gold website and grab some tickets.
That is fantastic. I really wish that I could be there in person. Unfortunately, I cannot, but I'm so glad that I'm at least going to be able to help you guys out a little bit. And I promise I won't go too long with my pre-recorded comments, because nobody wants to listen to, somebody yammer for that long when they're not right in front of them. But again, I just want to thank all of the gun owners in Massachusetts who are getting out there, who are being engaged. They're talking to their friends, they're talking to their family, their neighbors, they're going and hanging out on highway overpasses. This really is a crucial moment. Because as you and I have talked before, Jim, it's not like this stuff's going to stay in Massachusetts. If they can, whatever they can ram through, maybe some of the stuff they can't even ram through, they're going to export this to other states where they think that they can, do the same thing, or that they can use this as a bargaining chip to try to weaken existing laws. So this is all of our fight. I mean, it doesn't matter to me if you live in Massachusetts or Mississippi. This is your fight too.
Yeah. Yeah. And, to all the people that continually have told us, stop this nonsense, just file a lawsuit. They really don't understand the process there. And God bless the organizations that are litigation organizations, done some yeoman's work. But our job is to stop it before it even gets to that point. Because, Cam, I'm sure you've done tons of interviews from New York, California, Illinois, all those states that already passed laws a year ago are still bogged down in court.
Yeah.
They have to live with this stuff until it's done. So our job is to destroy it before we even have to get there. And this particular proposed law, is so big, the federal court's not going to take it on all at once.
Right.
So it's probably going to take 3 or 4 different cases to try to tackle it, millions of dollars. How many years before we get to the Supreme Court, which is our only hope? And we don't even know what the Supreme Court's going to look like at that point.
No, you're absolutely right. And I mean, you, from a tactical perspective, from a strategic perspective, absolutely it makes sense. Stop a bad bill before it becomes a bad law. I mean, and again, even if you think, well, the deck's stacked against us, you got to try your hardest, because not only are we fighting in the courts of law, but we are fighting in the court of public opinion too. I mean, this was something I was talking about with John Harris from the Tennessee Firearms Association. They've got their special session coming up next week. And, we know, particularly in Massachusetts, how anti-gun the media is. I mean, I ran across this story from the Boston Globe, I think it was yesterday, about, these gun dealers in Littleton that are now trying to open up shop in other towns, and the towns that are passing zoning laws, trying to prevent gun stores from operating. There was one lady who actually said, "We don't want you here." Yeah. I mean, that's the type of bigotry, and that's the word that you used when the Boston Globe reached out to you, but that's the type of bigotry that we are seeing here. And so, listen, gun owners, I've always believed that every gun owner has a unique story to tell about why they exercise their right to keep and bear arms. And even telling and sharing those stories, I think, is an important part of activism, because you've got so many folks in Massachusetts who just view gun owners as some other, right? They're not your neighbor. They're not your friend. They're not your coworker. They're not your significant other. They're just another. And so when we start, I think it's sad that we have to do it, but when we humanize ourselves and why we exercise our right to keep and bear arms, why we find this right so important, I think that can actually have a difference. It can make an impact. It's
the personal story. It's absolutely the personal story. And that's why, again, I don't want to dissuade anybody from doing it, but the automated click here to send an email to your legislator, or, give me a form letter, or, a petition to sign, little paragraph, handwritten note, makes all the difference in the world. Matter of fact, that's one of the things some of the clubs are doing, is having letter writing events, and they have people there that look up who your legislator is, so you'll know who they are, write directly to them. They have talking points, bullet points, little paragraph. don't have to get detailed. I had a young kid that was 12 years old that came to one with his parents. And he's like, well, Jim, what should I write? And I says, well, what do you love to do? And he goes, I love to go hunting with my dad. That's what you write. I don't care if it's 2 sentences, but it's from a 12-year-old kid that wants to continue to go hunting with his dad. Those are the things that make the difference. As a matter of fact, a lot of legislators have told me, Jim, we're hearing from constituents we've never heard from before. And some of them aren't gun owners that are really angry about this because they know what it's going to do to public safety. It's going to disarm an entire populace. If this ever passed the way it is, violent crime in Massachusetts would skyrocket because no one outside their home would be able to defend themselves.
That is what's at stake with 4420 and with the unnamed Senate bill at this point. Listen, Jim, we're going to stay on top of this. When are lawmakers scheduled to come back to the State House?
It'll be sometime after Labor Day. Not exactly
Okay.
the date. I don't think they've set a date yet, but it's sometime after Labor Day. And I'm sure they'll schedule some formal sessions, but I would be surprised if we saw a revised bill drop that quickly. But hey, who knows? They did it 2 weeks after a listening tour, so it's
Right.
amazing what can drop out of the sky on our heads, right? So
Yeah, no kidding.
don't underestimate anything.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, we got the Overpass weekend coming up here this weekend, August 27th. That again in Quincy, Mass. You can get more information about the Second Amendment gathering there at goal.org. And if you're a Massachusetts gun owner, sign up for the goal alerts as well. Jim, thank you, man, as always, for everything you do. I'm so glad to hear that the response has been so strong from gun owners, but we're going to stay on top of this. And let's talk again here in a couple of weeks, can we?
Absolutely, yeah. And we do have a new web name that goes directly to the huge resource page. It's just simply stophd4420.com. It'll bring you right to the resource page with all the information you need to know.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jim Wallace from the Gun Owners Action League, and I look forward to talking again very soon.
All right. Talk to you later, Cam.
Many thanks to Jim Wallace for joining us on the program here. And we will be talking with him again in the very near future. Right now, let's turn our attention to today's Armed Citizen story, our good deed of the day, and our recidivist report. We'll start there with a case out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, where a man was arrested for robbery while out on probation for robbery. Yeah. This is a weird one. Jerry Stevens, according to police, walked into a Quick Trip in Tulsa in late July. Justin Ritter with the Tulsa Police Department said he approaches the counter, passes a note. Note basically says, I'm going to shoot everyone in here. Give me the money. Ritter says while watching the video, detectives caught something else. They said that he noticed that he was armed with a pistol. Ritter said, we call it clutching for it, grabbing the gun at times, never pulls it out and points it at the clerk, but passes the note and then is armed at the same time. So with the help of police in neighboring Sapulpa, Oklahoma, they were able to track down and arrest Stevens, take him into custody. And then they ran a search warrant at his residence out in Sapulpa. And Fox 23 in Tulsa reports that a closer look at Stevens' record shows that in February of 2021, 2.5 years ago, Stevens was given a 20-year sentence for another robbery. This one out of Oklahoma County, Oklahoma City, basically. And he was out of prison by November of 2022 after receiving a 20-year sentence. I mean, less than 2 years behind bars. Ritter says the case is frustrating. He says it's always frustrating when we get cases. We arrest guys that have been sentenced to prison for whatever reason. Some of that sentence is suspended, so they'll do a minimum amount of time actually in custody, get out, and while they're still on the suspended sentence, commit another crime. Yeah, frustrating, absolutely. In this case, thankfully, no life was lost. But, again, we talk about these stories every day here on Cam and Company. I always say this isn't a blue state problem. This is a problem in both blue states and red states. Oklahoma's about as ruby red as it comes. And yet you still have violent offenders who are getting what amount to slaps on the wrist or a kiss on the cheek with these plea deals. And then they're walking away. Again, as Ritter says, after serving just a minimal amount of time behind bars, going on to be accused anyway of committing further crimes of violence while they're out on probation, out on parole, or in some cases out on bond. And the system, unfortunately, tends to rinse and repeat these offenders through the system right back out onto the streets once again. Again, this isn't San Francisco. It's in Los Angeles. It's not New York. It's happening in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The case out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, where he was sentenced to 20 years and ended up doing 2. So, yeah, this is a problem that all of us need to be aware of. And again, if we're looking to fight violent crime, we don't do it by passing laws aimed at you, me, and other lawful gun owners. We do it by making sure that violent offenders actually do the time that they were sentenced to, or at least more than a tenth of their sentence, as was the case here. Today's armed citizen story from Chicago, where the website CWB Chicago reports a teenage robber with a pellet gun ran away when his intended victim pulled out a real firearm. Happened around 12:30 Tuesday afternoon, broad daylight, not far from the Argyle Red Line station, according to CWB Chicago. The brazen daylight robbery actually involved a group of individuals who approached a 37-year-old woman on the street. One of them pulled out again what turned out to be a pellet gun, demanded the woman's property. The woman, however, drew her own firearm, and police say the group ran away. Cops took the 15-year-old into custody a few minutes later, confiscated his pellet gun. CWB Chicago says charges are pending. Don't have any information on the woman in question, whether or not she possessed a valid concealed carry license in the city of Chicago. I hope for her case that she did, but we'll see if we can find out more information here as the investigation continues. Finally today, in the right place, at the right time, willing and able to do the right thing. An off-duty paramedic in the Lone Star State of Texas who helped save a neighbor's choking baby in the town of Porter, Texas. It was captured on the home's security camera. Eric Watson is the paramedic in question. He says that he was home napping when all of a sudden he heard a pounding at the door. And the mom outside yelling, "Please call 911, my child is choking." Watson says he opened the door and was met by his panicked neighbors, that he immediately jumped into action, was able to clear the baby girl's airway, and then he and the child's mom waited for an ambulance crew to arrive and take over. According to authorities, thanks to Watson's quick actions, he's expected to be just fine. She was taken to an hospital by ambulance, but checked out and is doing okay. Watson's wife spoke to KPRC in Houston, telling him he's been a paramedic for 5 years, currently works full-time at the Montgomery County Hospital District and part-time as a EMS worker as well. Also employed at the University of Texas, San Antonio, where he's working to obtain his bachelor's degree. So, man, he needed that nap. But, again, even with all of the work that he is doing, he was still able to rise to the occasion and to save the life of that little girl there in Porter, Texas. So, Eric Watson, in the right place, at the right time, willing and able to do the right thing. We thank you, sir, for your very, very good deed. That is about all the time we've got for you here on this edition of Bearing Arms Cam & Company, but we will be back tomorrow talking with Rick Travis, Legislative Affairs Director for the California Rifle and Pistol Association. There's a lot to talk about going on in California. You've got Gavin Newsom introducing that 28th Amendment that he wants to see to replace the Second Amendment. Plus, we've got the Bruin Response Bill and other anti-gun bills. We'll talk about all that and more with Rick Travis on tomorrow's show. In the meantime, don't forget to check out BearingArms.com throughout the day for the latest Second Amendment news and information from all across the nation. And if you like what you see, I'd also encourage you to become a VIP or VIP Gold member. All you have to do, go to BearingArms.com/subscribe, use the promo code GUNRIGHTS, and you can get a significant savings on your VIP or VIP Gold membership. We're going to give you exclusive content as our way of saying thanks, because your support really does matter. So I'd encourage you to check it out, and look forward to talking again tomorrow. Until then, be well, be safe, and be free.